Good morning. Good morrow. How's everyone doing? Thank you for joining today, or watching back if you're watching back. This is our community monthly stream where I playtest your games, which is kind of, I don't know, at least 50% of what I do on this channel anyway. But this is the one that is for the IGC Discord members games, which only happens once a month. Let me just kind of line myself up with this image. So yeah, this is the stream that I do monthly to say thanks to the supporters who are part of our Discord who submit their games. I don't always get a chance to get through all of the games. Hopefully I will do today, but if not, then they sort of just get priority next time. So this is what this stream is about. Sam's game only works at a very specific resolution. Yeah, I'm sure we can manage that. The first thing the game I'm prioritizing first is going to be a mobile game because I told them last month I would get sorted for streaming and we would get that sorted. But I saw this. I don't know how many of you are on Game Dev Reddit. Here's what I learned from posting my game prototype on itch.io. Here's what I learned. Metrics. I just thought I'd have a quick look at this at the start of the stream because it looked interesting. Had a skim of it earlier. Community feedback was incredible. People left thoughtful multi-paragraph comments still visible on the itch page. This is kind of what I was talking about in my conversation with Chris Zukowski the other day of just like the itch community has a lot more... a lot of the people in it are game developers and they want to give you thoughtful feedback rather than just rant about how terrible your game is. This is the thing I find interesting, given that this ends up being a lot of what we end up talking about on the channel, even though it's not the most exciting thing. UI friction and inventory usability were the top complaints. That really surprised me. Most of the feedback wasn't about balance or difficulty, just how confusing it was to interact with the game. Now, that's not confusing to me at all, because... If it's confusing to interact with the game, then players aren't going to actually reach the point where they have feedback about balance or difficulty, right? And if we look back here, 56% of players reached level 2. That's still 44% attrition in the first level, right? So the players are just not going to reach the point where they need to worry about balance. So this is... I think it just tells us a lot about the order of operations for getting game into people's hands and what you should care about in what order. And I when I do my Q&As on this channel, lots of people write to me about balance, and I often think, well, I'll give advice on how to balance a game, but is your game actually at the stage where you need this and can use it? Because there's multiple stages to balance, and the first one really is getting your game in a state where it's easy to iterate on and change the balance, because balancing a game isn't really a thing where it's a case of just getting it right first time. It's a case of architecting your game in such a way that it makes it very easy to update numbers. But if you have these problems, if you have UI friction, inventory usability problems, UI and UX issues, it's never going to get to the point where people notice that it's unbalanced anyway, because you've got 44% 44% people leaving in the first level. This shows me that even if your core loop works, UI or UX issues can kill playability during testing. Yep. And this is, one of the reasons I do what I do, and probably one of the most common things that comes up is just game has too much game in it before it's nailed these things. And you don't want to polish these things too prematurely when you're in a very early stages of prototyping something. But I think once you get to the point where you're blind playtesting, where you're playtesting with people you don't know who are just like looking at online, then you can't take anything for granted in terms of this stuff. It needs to be good. So stuff here, glad the dev learned all this, glad the dev shared it, but it points towards stuff that really isn't surprising for probably anyone who watches this channel regularly, because these kind of small UX and UI things, like, you know if the core idea of your game is exciting, right? You know if like blowing stuff up or farming or whatever is exciting, and the UX is like part of the execution of whether your version of that thing is good or not. So sorry, I'm just getting Dungeon Delivered up because I said I would play that first this time, and it requires me to do a phone mirror. This is why I don't cover mobile games on Indies Under the Knife, because it is really a bit of a pain. But yeah, you don't know what the UX problems are going to be with a specific game until you're having the problems, right? So give me 1 second and I will get this ready to go. I think some of you may have played this on the Discord if you've been in the playtesting channel for it. Just shrink that down and put this over my face so there's not too many of me on the screen at once because it's disturbing. Put myself over here. So I can stream mobile games. To be honest, if you send me mobile games on Indies Under the Knife, I probably still won't cover them because, one, this is a pain to set up. I do it for our Discord members, but because you guys support the channel. But it is a bit of a pain, and often it's hard to make a mobile game work financially. So unless you're making a premium game that you're asking a few dollars for, I usually don't want to cover it if it's a free-to-play game anyway, because I don't think that's what indie gamers want to look at. And that, believe it or not, that is a secondary audience for this channel, is people that just like games and want to hear a weirdo talk about them. Okay. I don't know if the sound is coming across in this. And maybe it is, maybe it isn't. There are a few questions in the chat about UI and UX. I mean, the real answer to all of this is test it with people. Test it with people and make sure that your game does what they expect. The best guide to what players expect is looking at other games that are successful and looking at how they do something. Looking at how they do moving things around in an inventory. Looking at how they do clicking on something and like how you show when something is clicked. All of these small details of what other games do should be your first port of call for how you design these things. And don't assume that your player understands anything in the game that you haven't communicated to them. And it can be as simple as like when I press on a button. So on this screen I'm on now on my phone that is mirrored to here, when I press one of these, is there anything to indicate that it's selected? So I'm going to select dark foyer. The button darkens. That's a good start, right? That's an example of a very small UX thing that has nothing to do with gameplay, but is the kind of thing that helps communicate to the player what is going on. So many of the games that come through this channel that get sent to me just have tiny little issues with these things because people think they can skimp on that. It's just about feedback and communication. And it's really not the most exciting part of game development, and it's not even really game design, that stuff. But if you don't do it, then you might as well not be making a game because people won't understand how to play it. You're the designer of the dungeon. I don't know how to get the sound working on this, which is a shame. So this one has been in the queue for a while, and I played it when it was in the Discord in its own kind of playtest channel. So the hero is going to run through the dungeon, and you've got to make it take a long time for them. So we've got a kind of you are the villain type situation, and then you're trying to block them so that they have to path longer. So I'm just going to be drawing these things. This is, obviously tutorial level where there's a best way of doing it. Although I think if I made a vertical zigzag, it might take even longer. I think the problem I had with this the first time I played it still remains, and that is that as players, we are so used to games of efficiency that doing things quicker is usually the better thing. And having a game where if you are better at it, you then have to sit there and wait for longer feels like a sort of baked in punishment for doing well. You accepted another of my jobs already. That desperate for work? No judgment here, darling. Besides, at the price you're going for, I'm happy to pay for your help around here. I mean, who even accepts gold stars anymore? Good, correct amount of dialogue for something like this. There's just enough there to give it character and feel like you're progressing through a story, but it's only like 2 or 3 lines per level. So I could do something like this. That would make it take a long time, I guess. You can't undo them, which is a little bit awkward. You can only sort of restart the whole thing. I don't understand what we really get out of having to, like, basically what happens is as soon as you place a block, everything sets in motion and you can't pause it and build. And I don't really understand what we get out of that. It makes it feel slightly frantic, but I'm not sure if it really makes it more fun. So this side is this, and I guess that is the only way to do this. There must be another way. But I feel like there are a couple of things that are pulling against each other. It's like, I kind of want to be able to just draw the level out and then let them run through it. But I also don't like sitting and watching them run through it because it's too slow. And I think if the time it takes the hero to get through the dungeon was counted in steps rather than time, I think it would solve that problem of it feeling too slow, because you could speed it up. You could, as soon as the player has finished drawing, you could speed the whole thing up and then count the amount of tiles that the hero moves across rather than the time. Because, I mean, there are two things happening psychologically there. Most of the time, when we have a timer in a game, it's better to finish things fast. And that's just like a baked in thing for so many video games. There aren't many video games where having a timer that has gone up higher is better, unless it's a survival game, like a survival arcade thing, and then it usually gets converted into points and we don't think about the time. And then there's also just the fact of just like having to sit and wait through it, and then you're being punished for success by having to wait longer. And I think there are ways around those issues, but I think they're to do with just converting one number into another number and presenting it differently. Okay, so we've got some baked in walls in this level. And I guess maybe we can make them walk around the... Okay, they're going to go that way. I've only got 5 walls. Okay. So I really don't like not being able to experiment with the build without them starting to move. See, that starts to make the real-time aspect make sense, because then you're doing it more reactively. But at the start of the game, it's not really certain that that's what you're going for. Right, so that level made a bit more sense as like a reactive real-time thing. So I kind of waste their time and make them go the long way round. This makes a lot more sense now. This is like helping to answer that question for me of like, why is this in real time and not like pausing and letting you do the thing? Okay. My favorite gig worker. Since your rates are so low, I'm happy to provide extra coaching if it means your performance improves. Have you ever seen those red lines appear between the entrance and exit? Just think of those lines as my red-hot fury should you block the hero from reaching the end. It's also not wise to make the walls burst out too close to the hero. It could be over so quick for them. Those tasty heroes must reach me. Okay. Doing a good... I think the story is doing a good job of explaining the mechanic as well, of like why are you doing this as a job? We've got some torches in this level, but I think they're just decorative. It's a bit fiddly to do the reactive kind of putting stuff down before they get there. So that's kind of the situation where you really want to save one, so that right at the last minute you can block them and have to go around a long way. Because they're sort of, the character is recalculating their pathing constantly, right? So they will start going in a particular direction, and then your job is to sort of predict that, cut it off in a way that is going to lead them to waste the most time. I think mostly I'm really struggling with the... I get now that this is meant to be reactive rather than something that you plan. But for me, the kind of puzzly aspect and the reactiveness don't quite go together. They might do if I played about 5 more levels and I got a feel for the mechanics enough to be able to like predict things a bit better. But it's just the sort of game that I want to be able to think about, and it's not really what it's designed to be. You know, it's designed to be this reactive thing. And keep trying this one and see if I can get 3 stars on it. So wait until they go a bit further down. Okay. Oh, interesting. I've got 20 walls this time, so I'm going to draw a big... Can definitely do better than that. That kind of thing. Need 160 to get 3 stars. Oh, I got it that time. Okay. I think the structure of like how the levels are paced in this is quite good, where you've got some levels that you only have like 5 walls and you have to be really reactive with them, and some levels where you've got loads of walls and you can like do this big like line with them. I think that's quite good. They feel sort of paced between those extremes, and you've got so here I've only got 2 walls, so it's about perfect placement kind of thing. It's kind of like, if I'm going to have to place the walls in real time, I kind of want to be able to start the hero without placing my first wall as well. 1 star. Yeah, I think all of the presentation and everything, like the animation is really charming. I don't have any complaints in that area. But it is mixing sort of a couple of different types of thing that, for me personally, don't work. Like if I have a puzzle game where I need to think about what's going on and do this kind of spatial puzzle, then I want to be able to think about it. I don't want to have to do it reactively. Okay, so I'm gonna place my first block somewhere down here where it doesn't actually block him, and then I'm gonna let him get almost all of the way round, and then I'm gonna do that. Is that gonna get us the 3-star rating? Yes. Yeah, I like it. I like Dungeon Delivered overall. I think it's very nicely put together and well built. I struggle with the combination of things it's doing in terms of like it just doesn't feel fun to me. So I think what we can do here is have a let's have a just to try and make this useful for people that are watching. We were talking about this yesterday. So someone in our Discord said that they ran a load of playtests and they were kind of frustrated because there's loads of placeholder art in the game and it was like the main thing that the playtesters talked about. So, how do you get playtesters to focus on the gameplay rather than stuff like placeholder art? And this is a game that I think looks great visually. I wouldn't change anything about how it's presented visually. But these are the questions you can ask. This is called the fast forward method. And the idea is that when you run a playtest, you ask these questions specifically. You don't just go, yeah, what did you think? Because then playtesters will talk about stuff that's not relevant. They will talk about things like placeholder art that are getting changed anyway. And they will not focus on the gameplay, and they will give feedback for the sake of giving feedback. So you will get playtesters that will just like go on about how wonderful everything was because they're people pleasers and they think that's the type of feedback you want. And then there'll be other ones that fancy themselves designers and they give you loads of critical feedback. And the most important things get buried in this big swamp of feedback because they're giving you feedback for the sake of giving you feedback rather than giving you feedback to address important things. So the fast forward method is like you ask these questions or you give a questionnaire that asks these questions. What was the most frustrating thing in the game? So in the game we just played, the most frustrating thing for me was that I basically couldn't think about the pathing while the game was in motion. I was not capable of doing that. And that ruined my fun of the game. My favorite thing about the game, I think, is the character of it, I guess. This kind of creepy, cute Addams Family type thing of like, you've got this boss and she's a lich and she's dressed as kind of like a sort of 1950s boss lady type thing. I really like that aspect of it. Found that really appealing. That's not a game design answer, that's an art and creative direction answer, but it was my favorite thing about the game. And because the gameplay was so frustrating for me because of the things I said, then the favorite part of it for me is really the art and the art direction. What did I want to do? I wanted to be able to think without being rushed. The wand question in this questionnaire is, if I had a magic wand, what's one thing I would change? If I had a magic wand, the one thing I would change is I would make it possible to start the knight moving, start the hero moving without placing my first block. Now remember, I'm just a playtester. I'm not acting as a game designer in this case. I haven't thought through the repercussions of doing that. I don't know how that plays with your design, but that is one of the things I wanted to change, particularly on that last level. I wanted to be able to trigger the gameplay and have everything moving and then place my blocks down rather than have the game start with my first block. It was just a frustration that felt like there was a gameplay reason for it, probably that you'd made, but it didn't make sense to me as a player, and that's a problem. And then these last two questions: what were you doing, and describe the game. These are helpful questions for playtesters to answer because they help you understand if your game is actually what you think it is. So what I was doing is I was drawing walls to block a hero from going through a dungeon, and I was trying to slow them down. I think that's probably what was intended. I don't think I've misunderstood the game. And then if I describe the game, I say this is a sort of frantic action puzzle game with a funny theme. You know, this set of questions are really, really helpful to set people when you get people to playtest the game. If you're there physically with them, watching them, or if you're giving a survey out because you're doing online playtesting, this set of questions is really, really helpful. It helps to avoid those problems I talked about at the start of like just people randomly commenting on the art or stuff that's not relevant to the gameplay, and it means you get more response. If you've got like a quieter playtester, you get a richer response. You get more words out of someone if they're quiet and they don't usually give lots of feedback. And if someone is the sort of person that gives too much feedback, it helps narrow it down. That is what this set of questions is designed to do. Right, let me just have a look at what we've got queued up and see what's next. So I think I've got all of the queued games lined up in my browser here. And I'm just trying to work out which ones we've seen before. So I try and prioritize new games that we haven't seen at all, and then stuff that's just been waiting a little bit after that. Yeah, Sam, as always, thank you for trying this stuff out. So Sam has been working on a space deck builder that we're going to see in a moment, and has been using this method because Sam was the person that raised the issue. So max speed intercept we have not seen yet. Interested to see this. I have played a few games like this back in the day, and I really like this kind of pause and plan mechanic. I've played it with spaceships. You can do it with boats as well. This kind of arc-driven movement thing. Radiation is cosmic. We've seen before, so I'm going to move that back a little bit. Not all the way back, but and then Goblin Gourmet we haven't seen. I don't know what this pinball game is. We have some sort of pinball game. Let me just see in my spreadsheet. Ah, that's a Debone game who is seems to be working on a new game every month, which is very impressive. That was Victor, I think. Chair Champions, we've seen before, so I will have this in here, but sort of towards the back. Light Rider's a new one. Unknown Quadrant can sort of stay in the middle there. So let's take a look at this max speed intercept first. Yeah, Victor, I have no idea how you make so many games. I really like the sort of topology of the maps on this. Just from looking at them, it looks really cool. You know, I think just to look at this game, the world looks fantastic already, like this weird geology. All of the graphic design on the text and the moves and stuff is going to need a bit more thought, but let's see how it plays. Just wait for it to let's just wait for it to finish. Downloading. I will. Goblin Gourmet is running browser. Download some of the others now while that's downloading. This is interesting. Light Rider has put possible stories underneath. Here are the things that could be the story for the game. I think that's a good approach early on. Pinball is playing browser. Unknown quadrant I can download now. Chair Champions has browser. The novice, I probably just need to update my demo because I played that before. The novice is a sort of bullet heaven, magic themed bullet heaven type thing. And the radiation is cosmic. Very charming, trippy game. I think maybe this itch page has had a bit of an update since I last saw it. There we go. Just get that unpacked. Sorry for the lack of prep today, folks. There's a lot of stuff to get through, but do sound out in the chat. Let us know what you've achieved in the last week that you're proud of. Can be on a game, can be not on a game. I don't mind. Fighter Command. One of my favorite things is seeing the various names that games have. When it's like there's an itch page with one name, there's a build with another name. It's just interesting. It's like a weird little archaeological detail of the project. Hi FL. Pick a name. Admiral Pew Pew. That's my air commander name. Thank you, Victor. Appreciate it. Single player, skirmish and campaign. Work in progress. Let's just let's do a skirmish first. Geert, I don't understand that question. So if you're not a member of our Discord, I do a stream every Thursday, which is games submitted to Indies Under the Knife. There is a form on the home page of this channel to submit games there. You do not have to be a member of the Discord for that. The Discord monthly is just a monthly thing that is only Discord members. But I do a stream every week for people that aren't Discord members, and the reason people support the Patreon is because of that stream. Really, that's kind of what the channel is built around. But you know, whether the games submitted to that form, whether they get played or not, is, you know, at my discretion, and whether I can find other games that they go with. So if you look at my homepage, you know, you'll see coming up this Thursday there is a stream of sort of Pokemon type games. And that will be, you know, one of those games might have been submitted 2 weeks ago. One of them might have been submitted 3 months ago. But I wait until I've got a theme, and then I do them together. Okay, drag to position your squadron, then deploy. Okay, so one of the first things I would say about the UX in a situation like this is, whenever you can, hide what's not relevant yet. So all of this stuff is not relevant in this deployment mode, so it should just not be drawing. Like this bit of UI, if this is for taking my turns and we're not actually taking turns, we're in a pre-game deployment thing, then let's not have this. Okay, I want to start one of them over there. So I'm going to have my main squadron flying together. And then I'm going to have a sneaky boy coming in from the side. And yeah, I don't need anything apart from deploying to be able to move these guys at the start, because it looks like these are the same for all of my fighters, so I don't need to see that yet. Marcin, there are always deck builders. I'm also usually very critical of them because it's a genre that I like a lot, and I think a lot of the time I see deck builders where it just seems like someone has not played them very much, and it annoys me. So yeah, I do have. There are always deck builders in the queue, and I play them every chance I get, but I always play them with a kind of understanding that I'm probably going to be disappointed by them. Okay, end turn. Is everything else moving over here? These guys are quite slow. They are a lot slower than my ships. My planes. Really easy adaptive music approach for this game. If you get the same piece of music and have one version of it where you filtered out all the trebles, so it's just like play both pieces of music, mute the unfiltered one, and then when you're planning, put the volume up on the filtered one, so and then as soon as I click end turn, switch the volume between the two channels. So as soon as it's going from planning to moving, then it switches between them. It will add loads and it probably only take you half an hour. Okay, you can go back and cancel turns and stuff. That's interesting. So do I actually have to trigger the... I've got a guided missile there. But... it's a bit weird seeing them sort of calculate before their turn. I don't know if that feels necessary. I kind of want it to all start moving as soon as I click end turn. But we get them all kind of calculate their little thing. It's not going well, guys. My one little cowardly, sneaky ship has survived. Oh dear. Sorry, let me just turn the sound down on the game a little bit. I want to try that one more time. That was not a good start. So they've got missiles. I think you do have to manually... You do have to manually trigger them. And you've got flares to disrupt incoming missiles. Okay, so maybe... So the formation thing, it's like everything is so bunched together that I don't feel like there's much variation in terms of how you can start the level. But maybe if I have like 2 fly ahead and do the chaff flares and try and stop the first projectiles. Here we go. Here we go. We've got some projectiles coming in. So let's do a flare there. You can see these little lines for the projectiles. And then this one is going to do a flare there. Then hopefully that's going to stop those first 3 missiles from coming in. This one's going to bend over that way. Oh. Maybe, can that one do a flare in time? Right, these guys need to go right over that way. And Fox missile hopefully might hit those guys. See this bit, I'm not sure if I need to see it. I understand the computer needs to do it, but I don't think the trade-off of having to wait versus everything clicks into motion as soon as I press the green button, I don't think that trade-off is really worth it. I understand there might be some strategic benefit to seeing the enemy intents a bit more, but I don't get anything out of it. Okay, so we're going to try and missile them and then curl off to the side. Then we've got two guys coming in this direction, so maybe if I just fire everything and then this guy can peel off that way. Oh no, that guy needs to peel off that way because otherwise these missiles are going to hit him. I didn't see any of my own missiles fire then. Yeah, I mean you can change the initial formation, but it's because you're only coming in on that strip. There's not really much difference between like where you put the planes. I feel like my missiles aren't actually firing. Loads of this is really nice to interact with. All of the player input stuff of like how you click and drag things feels really good. So I don't have any concerns about that. Yeah, I think it's pretty solid. Okay, we'll do one more before I move on to the next game. But I think maybe let's try and do a run where everyone just goes sneaky through here. So we're using the mountains to try and protect us from their missiles. And maybe we launch a few missiles in like the second turn. So sort of turn this way, shoot some missiles off there randomly, hope that they hit, and then duck into the mountains. Because it seems like not getting hit is the sort of harder thing here. So if we focus on surviving rather than damage, and then just remember that the missiles are guided anyway, so the other thing is that alert state, that like red for when you're going to hit something, is more prominent than the green ones. Less prominent, sorry. So it might be easy to miss when that's red, I think. Right, it looks like my planes aren't going to hit each other, which is probably good. Here we go. Right. Do I have another Fox missile there? So Dev, if you're watching this and there's anything I'm missing that is really crucial, just have a think about how you can highlight that or make it more obvious, because at the moment there's no tutorial per se, we're just sort of testing the core mechanics. I've got stuff here like evade, climb. I don't really know what they do. So that's going to put me above them, maybe. I'll have these two climb, and then the one at the back is going to try and shoot another missile. And then this one is going to go round. So I'm not really working off what the game is telling me. I'm sort of just going off of like movie cinematography about what happens in the dogfight. And it may be completely wrong. So I sort of think I flew over them there, but the planes don't get bigger when they climb. So the climb mechanic maybe could be communicated better, because I sort of thought I was going up and over them, which would have dodged stuff, but it doesn't work like that. Can I do another missile there? Maybe. Yeah, and as for all the like lines and showing the an enemy intents, I think there might be a type of player that wants that, but I think the more casual end of the spectrum of people who want to play this game just want to control their own guys, maybe. Because like I can't see them when I'm planning. And if I can't see them when I'm planning, they're not really that relevant, right? If they're there as something for me to think about and respond to, then great. But if they're just there to calculate the enemy thing on their move, then just do it in the background and hide it and just end turn, everything moves straight away. I just think that would be more exciting, really. But I'm not a simulation guy. And people that are simulation guys may be a bigger chunk of the audience and may have a different feeling about this, but I don't feel like I need to see this. I definitely would need a easier skirmish than this. If you want to satisfy like the just basic thing of like, I don't know, give the player a good time, then I definitely need my first experience with this to be a way easier fight that can win more easily. Because dive and spend energy. What does that mean? What does it mean? Thanks, Joel. I will nip onto Reddit later and see what people are saying. I will crush all dissent. Yeah, I get maybe these are supposed to be like weaker types of planes, but I don't have any way of knowing that apart from just looking at how they look. So as a first experience of the game, it does feel a little bit unfair. So right, I'm gonna pop out of that now. That's really promising. And then let's check out Goblin Gourmet. So I'm just, these are all games from our Discord members. I'm going through the ones that we've never seen on this stream before, and then the ones that were on last month's will kind of come later in the stream. Should have time to fit all of them in, but it might be a quick look. Goblin Gourmet is a food cart roguelike deck builder. Lead a wagon load of goblins, combine cards, and bring joy to fantasy creatures as you travel from town to town. Using the goblins you have available, create and combine cards in different contraptions to craft dozens of different ingredients. Or just fill your deck with junk. Energy-free deck building. Okay. Everything is in turns here because in a kitchen nobody really cares how tired you are. That's interesting. They just want their meal 5 minutes ago and don't you know who they are. I'm always interested in mechanics that do stuff with time that isn't actually based on time. You see this a lot in board games where they will have like time as a abstract resource that you spend or a track that is used for time and stuff like that. Find that interesting. And this sort of helps me answer a question that as soon as I see this, when I see something like this, I always go, because it's like, oh, we've taken this thing out. We've taken out this thing you don't like. And then it's like, okay, but that was there for a reason. And then it's like, okay, but we've replaced it with something else that is going to make the game unique. So this is a setup where I initially go, oh, don't take out that thing. That's load bearing. And then it's actually, well, no, we haven't just taken out a feature. We've replaced one feature with another that sort of serves a similar purpose but operates differently. And that's what I like to see. Come on, Goblin Gourmet. I'm going to download the downloadable of it because that seems to be stuck. we go. Just unpacking the other games that I've downloaded as well while we're here. Hi, Mario. That's a great Goblin. Big fan. Big head. Got his little chef hat on. Let's check it out. Just going to turn my mic up a tiny bit, folks. So if you've got me loud already, just a warning. Hey, chef. Welcome to your food wagon. You've got some prep time before customers with a K arrive. So let's run you through some basics. Let's get you some cards and a section so you can get some loaf. That's a loaf. LOF. But first we need some flour. Gross. Many customers hate this food. Okay, this is a section. I've only got one section, I think. I put my mill there. I put my goblin there. Is that it? I put my gross junk in there. Let's draw some cards and catch some water. Thank you, Mario. Okay. Catch water. Goblin, you go do that. You do some mixing. Hey, chef, if you need more info about anything, right-click on it. Try it on the mixer. Mixer. Flour and water into dough. Takes 1 turn. Okay. So we're taking out the usual energy mechanics and doing time-based stuff with it. So I put flour and water in there. That's a lot of water. Left click on the goblin above the section to stop them from working. Same goes for ingredients. So I can... Oh. I didn't... Did I want to stop him from working, though? Okay, so this goblin who is getting water was adding more water to my deck, I guess? Unfortunately, I just clicked on the wrong one, so now no one's working until I get another goblin. They say little things. They say work, work. Customers are coming soon. Okay. Get that dough to the cooker. So can I take that off the section? I broke the game temporarily, but not for long. There's the cooker, but all your sections are full. Let's turn on the pack up button. Button get. Okay. This is what I was talking about earlier, like hiding things until you need them. This is very well built already. Good onboarding. Just put myself here so I'm out of the way of the cards. Let's go over here. You're hungry for goblin food. Right, I can use pack up to pack up some of my sections and clear them and then put new stuff in, I think. Pack up. I guess I don't need any more water. Cooker. The dragon is the cooker, obviously. Yeah, it's good. It's good. You keep making dough. Oh, this... Oh, okay, the cooker... That's a slight problem with the cooker being a character is I sort of thought it was automated, but quickly learned that it's not. Place an ingredient on her. Would you like some flour, customer? Don't think they like eating flour. Okay. Gonna just try experimenting a bit with yeah. Give him a loaf. Eat your loaf and go away. You can bake another loaf. You go catch some water. Potato deck builder. I'll play it. That customer just wanted so much loaf. I love the sound effects. I don't know if you could hear that, but the customer went when I gave them their loaf. Once a customer is fed, they'll leave you some moolah and free up the space so someone else can arrive. Money, money. While the customer here didn't mind from here on if they okay. We need some proofreading here. If their joy reaches 0 or they leave from taking too long to be served, they will leave a bad review. Okay. Interesting. Too many of these and the run will be over. Got it. And if you're unsure of anything, mouse over it or right click for a little more information. Icy recipes. You can give customers brain freeze. This is such a good reapplication of elemental damage. Because sometimes people, like, I've always loved the idea of taking mechanics that are usually used for fighting and applying them in a context where it's not fighting, like characters arguing or this sort of situation where you're feeding characters. But then you end up with like the mechanics becoming shallow because it's like, what do I do with poison in this context? What do I do with setting a character on fire? You've resolved it here because you've got the concept of elemental damage, but it's actually like the effect of the food on someone, giving them brain freeze or something. So I've got Ipe and Blanc. Blanc is good at making gruel and soup, and Ipe makes ice water. It's really cordon bleu cooking here. But at least we can make some soup. I think that's quite impressive. So we're gonna need catch water for whatever we do, I think. We've got lots of stations ready, so I might as well just put all of these out. And I'm guessing we can put a I think we can just have everything set up from the start. Oh no, Scrounge needs a space. It is, I mean, yeah, it is. The goblins are doing their best. Here we go. Right, please be productive now, goblins. Okay, we've got some ice water on the go. We've got some flour. it makes it feel like really important to know what's in your deck in a way that a combat deck builder doesn't, because of the way that you're combining things, I guess. We've got ice. Oh, we put the ice and the water together? No, we don't. We mix the ice and the water in the mixer, I think. Starting to get a feel for how the things combine generally now. Okay, we can take him out of the junk pile now, I think, and maybe pack up the junk pile. We've got quite a lot of junk. We're going to catch some water. And then maybe we should make some bread as well. I don't know. I don't really remember how we make our soup. Bad reviews, these just sort of are going to go as crosses over there, I guess. How do I see my little recipes? I've got ice. I'm going to make some more ice. Let's make some more flour, because the junk isn't useful for anything else, I don't think. I need more goblins. I like the kind of weird idea of like the goblins are in the deck with the ingredients. So if you have loads of ingredients, then it takes longer to get your goblins out, which is kind of fun when you think of it thematically, because you're sort of thinking, well, why is this happening? Oh, it's the goblins have just got too much stuff, and they've sort of got stuck in the kitchen with all of this stuff piled up on them. Make some bread, please. Like the deck manipulation of turning two objects into one object, and how many cards are in the deck at any given time. If you get someone that's going to like overthink that, then you can end up with it's not a bad thing, is it? I think it's quite a good thing, but it sort of can feel it tickling my brain already in a particular way. I need more goblins. I'm gonna get some bad reviews. Please go and cook some bread with the little dragon. Part of me wonders if this ingredients list is so important that it should be sort of available more of the time. But also it doesn't hurt to have to hover over it and see it. So I'm running out of water and I'm running out of dough. And I think the ice is not that helpful at the moment, so I'm going to pack it up. So that maybe I don't need to pack up until I get the replacement thing out. But having these little errors to learn from is fine, because that's how I expect to learn in this kind of game. I don't want to be told too much. Please! We've already had 4 bad reviews on TripAdvisor. Please take all my bread. Gross, speedy coffee. Okay, this is a really good structure for the theme as well. Like, you serve some customers, you get a new recipe, and then that's part of your run, is that your goblins can now make that thing. It makes a lot of sense. Gives joy to all customers. Cream of goo. Right, we'll do one more. This is the sort of thing I could already play for quite a long time, but we don't have loads of time today. The sifter. What does the sifter do? It turns charcoal and water into coffee. Coffee and scarecrows. I can't put this guy on an empty space, which is a shame. Maybe there's not much point in having the cooker until we've got more dough ready. Right. We've got lots of flour. I need someone mixing stuff together first, really. That's the highest priority, because we starting off with a decent amount of stuff here. That can go in the mill. This guy needs to come off there because we don't have the charcoal to make the coffee anyway. Can I mix flour and junk? No, I can't. Flour and flour. We've got some gruel. That's good. Ice and flour doesn't make a recipe. I kind of like that you've deliberately gone with the food being disgusting, because it makes sense that it is goblins, and it also means you've got a little bit of leniency with how weird the recipes are. Oh, hello. Would you like some water? There you go. Would you like some gruel? Good. How about some ice? Just a handful of ice cubes. Wonderful. Now we're really cooking. Now we're really cooking with slime. Who wants a loaf? I can see there that you're very sad. Would a perfectly spherical loaf make you happier? How about some raw dough? I think I needed more of a warning there for the bad review that was going to happen, but also maybe that's just something I would know moving forward. New Goblin, Umi, has a collection of recipes with many steps that apply umami, which gives the same amount of joy as it has stacks, though it does lose a stack each term. I do find that is what the effect that umami has on me. Interesting culinary fact. I don't know if you know British sort of TV chef Heston Blumenthal, but he did a series about trying to make airline food better, and they found that umami is the only flavor, or it's like basically isn't as negatively affected by altitude as the other flavors. So his theory for how to make airline food better is everything should be cheese and tomato or soy sauce, because your altitude affects your taste buds, and you can't, or your taste processing, and you can't taste other flavors very well on a plane. Hopefully these goblins aren't going to build a plane or have airline food, because both of those things sound terrible. Let's check out Light Rider. Maybe I should feed the one that's closer to the 0 encounter. I was looking at the red, I think. I just saw the color red, and I was like, feed the red one. That wasn't the first. I think I got the ice goblin before that. But yeah, I think some of the I don't think it's that complicated a mechanic. It's basically like reverse poison, like regen or something. But maybe it's the wording makes it sound more complicated than it is, which is what complicated is. It's like the appearance of something being complex or more complex than it is. So, what have we got here? Did I download this? Yes, I did. Let's check out Light Rider. No, it's not a virus. Yeah, I'll start a new game. Hello. A routine cargo freighter, the Mistral, has gone dark mid-transit. Scans reveal it's crawling with hostile droids. Infiltrate the vessel, neutralize every rogue unit, and secure the ship before enemy forces can jump it back to their territory. Ah, yeah, I remember seeing this on one of the threads. I need to, I think I need to read the controls on the page. WASD and mouse. Weapon types, number keys 1 to 3. Left click shoot, Q radar, E hack, C use computer. Okay. Tab show controls. Stun gun, noise gun, energy gun. Unlock the door. This is very atmospheric for how abstract it is. Leave me alone. There's a little bit of sort of camera shake that is a little bit off-putting. Ah! Ah! No droids. Stop. So that was just very moving music. Try again. This is a good way of tutorializing these mechanics. Making me use the computer to do the to unlock the next bit. Keep getting a lock when I come back. There's something weird happening with the respawn. I have to manually restart to get unlocked. I did actually made myself tear up a little bit then. I'm such a good actor. Right, these guys in here, I just don't want to bother them really. They just give me grief. Oh! This is cool. It works very well as is, with like how abstract it is. But I do think it's kind of so scary that the sound design, the level design, the lack of visibility, and the fact that it's asymmetrical with you've got a gun and they are just coming at you, does kind of make me think we should go with some nasty alien stuff, maybe. But I admire the commitment to the minimalism. Yeah, okay. I see some hacking. You just hold it. Okay. Do they stay dead after you hack them? Such a hard start. In terms of just like getting a... So yeah, you've got a bug that when you restart, it doesn't restart properly, and you have to manually restart. And then yeah, it's so difficult. So difficult. Hacking. Stiltonator, thank you for the subscription. Hacking node overloaded. Running recovery subroutine. What? I did a mini game so that it could just fight me again. That's not good. That's not good. Hack. I steal your battery. Thank you. Now I have your battery. Now you cannot fight me anymore, I put you in a cupboard. Yeah. I think seeing a perfect triangle in the world would be scary as well, just because we don't live in a world of pure geometry. Leave me alone! Leave me alone! I mean you no harm. Very hard to recharge without doing the hacking. Like you really do have to take them out and take their batteries to be able to progress. Unlock door. Ah. Let me take your things. I want to take your things. Hack. Steal the battery. The PlayStation can produce mind-boggling graphics. Have you played the game that the mind-boggling graphics Kiwi is from? It's from Jumping Flash, I think. Which is a great game. I did make the mistake of downloading it on the PS5 recently and just ruining it for myself because it should have stayed in my memory. But Jumping Flash, amazing. Such a weird game. Just like first wave of 3D platformers where they didn't know what they were doing, and sometimes that led to cool stuff. Listen, robot. I mean you no harm, but if you must blast me and sneak up on me, I will take your batteries out. I will take your batteries out and I'll put them in something else. I'll put them in a... Oh. This is actually the sort of game that Ape Out started as. I went to a maze in Berlin a few years ago with students, big games festival thing, and they had a really good. It was like like all of the different builds of Ape Out from different periods, and you could play them all. And then there was explanation of how it was developed, and it was a top-down stealth game very early on. And then it was a case of like follow the fun, and it became a squishy ape game instead because the developer just, you know, kept iterating and messing around with it, and but it started off like this. Ah, yes, the radar. There we go. There they are. Creepy losers. Hey, creepy loser. I'm going to take your batteries out of you. Ah, I wasn't really paying attention to the timer being there before. That's one of the reasons why I was failing the hack. Ah! You're really giving triangles a bad name. Never gonna find out what's in that door. Well, I feel alright now. It's just the piano. Mission 12 is a local demo to demo multiple mechanics. Yeah, that makes sense. Make a demo level, put everything in it, and then build the levels before that, afterwards. That's really promising. Very moody. Very hard. But I think some of the controls, like the radar, you can probably just have that in the UI for a little while. But just until you come up with a better solution, just have it on the edge of the screen, Q radar. Because once I've looked at that control screen once, and then I've worked out a couple of mechanics, I then forget everything else exists. Pinball, 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 pinball. Z and X for the flippers. See if the ball gets stuck. Oh, it's like a cyber pinball. This is me. This the last game made me cry because of the music. And this game is going to make me cry because I've probably spent about 10 hours this week trying to do pixel perfect collision on the thing that I'm working on, and this is just absolutely perfect in terms of that stuff. Is there a sound thing that I just don't have turned on? Because these things live or die on that stuff. Let me, I'm just going to open the folder, so I just don't have enough screens. I think it's time for a third screen soon. I have notes on stuff that people send for this. I think. Just want to see what this one says, because I want to understand what I'm looking at and why I'm looking at it. Classic pinball. Early in development and rough. I'm curious if you can get to the left table even. I've been playing and it's a bit too hard. Okay, I'll play a little bit more. But I think that's a good question of when is too early to test. I do think pinball is all about. I mean, there obviously pinball is about skill, but if you don't have all the haptics and the noise and stuff, then it's not really giving people a pinball experience. So, I wouldn't be super like driven to play this for very long. And, you know, giving people a very early prototype that doesn't have much fun stuff in it, that doesn't work as a toy yet, is okay when you're testing a mechanic that you want to answer questions about. But here it's just like, this is a simulation of pinball, so you don't really have a design question that you're trying to answer with this prototype, right? And in order to know if people really find it fun, you'd have to add all the toy factor stuff. You know that it technically works, but you also know that pinball works, so it's not really a prototype that answers any questions in terms of like, do people like this activity, because you already know the answer to that. Yeah. Claim I don't really have a separate laptop, and if I did, getting it set up to do this would be a massive pain, because I would need to run all of my, I'd have to set up OBS again, I'd have to set up cameras and stuff again. So I understand that a lot of streamers do that stuff, but a lot of streamers are also have bank of mum and dad trust funds and infinite money before they even start streaming, which I just don't have. So quite frankly, if it's like, why why you don't use a second computer, you have to bear in mind that the amount of money that I make from doing this is not really any more than the UK minimum wage. So you know, it's a bit like asking someone who works in a supermarket why they don't use a second computer. I don't have one. I have a laptop, but it's not a very recent one, so it would break even more when people send me Unreal games than my actual PC does. Yeah. I mean, generally speaking, when something is likely to be malware that someone has put on itch, you can tell, because it doesn't actually look like a hobby project that someone has put time in. It looks like a baked project that is trying to look like a particular type of thing. And if something looks like that, I generally will avoid it. There is a itch client that you can download things on that I think has a better checker on it for stuff, but it's a bit awkward to use when you're downloading 5 things in the same session. But yeah, there is a itch app store, like a Steam client type thing for itch that not many people know about, but it is an option. Yeah, I mean, this is fine. This is a fine pinball demo, but I don't really know. I don't have anything to say about it, because it's just pinball. It's like it's pinball and it works. The physics doesn't break. What do you want to do with it would be the question. It's like I cannot think of many situations where I would play a pinball game out of choice. I like pinball machines in the real world, but that is so much to do with the tactility and the haptics and stuff. And it's just a kind of category of thing that I don't want to play a video game version of generally. But yeah, once you've got that backbone, you can do other stuff. Like someone in the chat was like, what happens if you add different types of metagame to pinball, or like make pinball into Balatro like? I mean, arguably some of the stuff in Balatro is coming from pinball, maybe. The problem would be that in pinball, it's happening a lot in real time, so you're going to miss a lot of the important thing, which is why pinball machines are engineered the way they are, right? When you get something important in a pinball, like you light up a set of letters and you get a multi-ball or something, it's all orchestrated, so you get a pause. You know, when they show you text, they pause and the ball doesn't come back out for a minute and the text lights up and then the ball is held and it does its little, you know, maybe it plays a clip from the movie. We used to have an Indiana Jones one at the arcade around the corner from me. They play a little clip from the movie and he goes, "Snakes, why does it have to be snakes?" And then the multi-ball happens and so on. So there is a lot of orchestration in pinball machines to allow the player to know what's happening. So anything that you add, you kind of need to bear that in mind, because that's what makes a good pinball machine in my mind. God, yeah, I used to play the free Windows one when I was a kid. A lot. Right. Pinball. Decent pinball prototype. Don't know what you're going to do with it. I hope it's more than pinball, though. But that's just me. Let's check out Sam's deck builder. Please work. Security scan required. Security scan required. Well, I feel like I should say stuff, because that's why we've got all this stuff here. But it's hard with something like pinball, because it's just based on something that is already proven, you know. Okay, well, do your scan then. If you must do your scan, then do your scan. Stop telling me you need to do a scan and do your scan. Unknown quadrant. Unknown quadrant. New game. I think I've got it open twice now. Yeah, I have. Excuse me. I only want one unknown quadrant, thank you. Yeah, sorry, I was just It is sweet music, but I bet it's not licensed. I bet Sam's going to get me hit today. I mean, I'm partially joking. Like, 50% of my streams get copyright hit because of unlicensed music, but I don't make much money off them anyway, so it's not really noticeable. This is the star map. You use it to pick the ship's next destination. This is a temporary overworld which will be replaced with something much cooler in the future. I think this typeface is a little bit hard to read for big blocks of text. It's okay for like flavor stuff, but it's just the squareness makes it a little bit legible. We're gonna blow up the sun. We're gonna fight the sun. The sun is the end boss. We're gonna go and punch it. That's what this would be if it was an anime. I must punch the sun, because the sun is my father. I'm gonna go to the little planet. One more open. Oh, you're right. Good to have you on board, Captain. Let's get you acquainted with the controls. Yeah. Okay, drag cards to the ship's HUD. Clicking on attack cards will bring up the targeting crosshair. Clicking on an enemy will use that card on the enemy. Exit targeted mode, right click. Okay. Okay, cool. Cargo hold, cool feature. So I was playing a deck builder last week, and they'd taken out cards discarding at the end of the turn, but they hadn't really replaced it with anything. So it was like they'd taken out a feature because maybe they didn't like it, but they hadn't thought about what it served, and that meant you could just hold a card in your hand until you had the right turn for it, and it kind of broke the genre. Whereas what we have here is you can just deliberately save cards for later. That's how many cards I've got saved. That's cool. And I can't play this because I don't have enough energy. Maybe this could go red. This 0 could go red in that context. Right, that's my deck and my discard. Okay. Displaying those there is a little bit confusing, but... Oh no, we've broken it already. Your thing for viewing the draw deck and the discard pile is a little bit broken. Maybe it will fix after this combat. Insufficient core energy. Sound choices are really strong. I think you probably need to make sure that the player attacks don't use the same sound as the enemy attacks, just because from a communication point of view it feels confusing that way. I'll take some scrap. I'll take a firebomb. I'll take a guided missile. So are these like one-shot items that you can use type things? We're going to the Bogey Nebula. Anomalies and events will happen here. I mean... Oh, I get it. It's the placeholder. Who's this guy? Oh no. Okay, we've unbroken it now. He's buffing, so we're just gonna blast the hell out of him. And I'm gonna do this shield repeater so we get shield next turn. It's like the dodge and roll card. I have played so much Slay the Spire recently because I've got it on an iPad and I've been using a cross trainer and it's my cross trainer game. Oh, nearly got them before they could attack. Okay, so this is my shield. So one of the things I know we've been back and forth so much on the interface in this game, but I do think that blue, when it's the background, could be slightly more desaturated so that the colours pop on all the things where the colour's relevant, because the colour isn't relevant on that blue background on the interface. Because it makes things like the shield bar not stand out as much. You'll see it now, so... Gonna sell all my scrap. Gonna see what this stuff is. 1 additional energy at the start of combat. Yeah, I'll have one of them. Electricity supply plus 5. That's starting to get confusing with like concept of energy and then a separate thing called electricity. I think people will get confused with that. Who's this guy? I want a mega shield. Sure, let's go with that. Oh no, he's come to do a special action on me. Right, so this is my hull, like my health, and then this is my shield on top of it. Even just like making this into a shield shape is gonna communicate that better, probably. Because I know a shield is like a medieval thing, but people will still use it in like futuristic interfaces to represent defense, you know? Just like you got it here. Just defending. I'm just going to be blocking. Add 2 drained. What does the drained keyword do? I don't know. That didn't cost anything either. Ah, the electrical supply is the thing that powers these, maybe? That I don't have at the moment. Okay. I'm going to do one more round of this and then move on to the next game. It's just a busy month in terms of submissions. If we ever get to a point where I'm able to do the channel full time rather than doing it and having to do gig work alongside it, then I will probably switch this to being something that happens every 2 weeks. A fortnightly, if you will. It won't let me end my turn. Sam won't let me end my turn. Won't let me end my turn. And yeah, it's conspiring against me. I don't know what I did then. Maybe I was just playing cards too quickly and it got caught between states or something. Because it's like the earlier one was a weird combination of like, you know, I'd got the cards out of the draw pile and was messing around with modes, but that one I was just playing the first round. So I think there's a bug in there that's maybe when you play cards very, very fast or something like that. Not sure. We need the piano music from the first sci-fi game. Help! Help! Let me back in! Help! Help! I'm stuck out here! Right. It's very promising so far. I like Unknown Quadrant. It's like you've got just enough. It feels like very well pitched in terms of the amount of small innovations that you're trying to do, like the carrying scrap in the inventory thing. The way all the different gizmos and stuff work. If you know, you're gonna have to fix the bugs. You're gonna have to tweak the UX as you go forward just to make it more fun, which it feels like you're doing constantly anyway. But the kind of core of it being like 80% Slay the Spire, with these slight tweaks that fit the theme of what you're doing. They're not done for its own sake. They're done to give it this FTL type feel of like you're picking some scrap up in one place and selling it in another, and that kind of thing. It's really nice. The bits you're putting together work really well in that one, I think. Where is the window I had open before? It's gone. I've lost all the games, all because of Windows naggy. Oh, this Unity game's probably a virus. Did you know it's probably a virus? This game. Just constantly. I mean, if someone wanted to put a virus on my computer, you could just send me a really unoptimized Unreal game, and it will have exactly the same effect. Right, so let me just look at what I'll have to do this over here because the spreadsheet has my nuclear launch codes on. We haven't looked at the novice this month. We've looked at Ella's Goblin Gourmet. We've looked at Unknown Quadrant. The space game where using radar with Q is important. We've done that. Max Speed Intercept was the airplane game at the start, which was really promising. I like that. Pinball. And okay, so we're going to check out The Radiation is Cosmic. So we're into the games that have been on before now. So Radiation is Cosmic, and then we've got Chair Champions and the Novice again. And yeah, I think that's it for this month. Did I download The Radiation is Cosmic? I didn't. This one has such a cool visual vibe. It was very slow and sort of floaty first time I played it. And I'm going to be interested to see if it feels much different. I think there's been quite a lot of iteration done on the visual style with this one. We'll check this out. Then we'll check out the new sudden death mode of Chair Champions, and then we'll do a few levels of the Novice. I downloaded the demo, the Steam demo, whatever is on the Steam demo was what I downloaded, I think. Oh no, yeah. This is nearly ready. It's decided the last 10% is 90%. Classic. I did already have it. It was sat right there. I was like skimming all the folders and I was like not looking at that Godot symbol. Yeah, Gear. The problem is that people don't have a good reason to optimize a game when it's in early prototype stages, right? So a lot of the time, particularly a channel like this where I'm playing lots of games that are in early stages, they are just not optimized. And they're right not to be optimized because you shouldn't waste time optimizing something before you know if the project is worth continuing on it. But the game should just have a more optimized default setting in general. But because Epic Games are more interested in making people feel like their games are flashy, they don't have things set to like good default settings. And I know, yeah, the developers should know and fix that in a lot of cases, but people don't, especially when it's very early builds of something, so... I've got like this is like a weird title screen that is in the game. Okay. Increase radiation resistance. Hold Q on keyboard. Okay. Is that telling me I need a money? Oh, you've added a whole economy to this that wasn't in it before, I think. Let me just make this bigger. So this is like somewhere I bring these money cubes to. Radiation will accumulate once outside the observatory. If you absorb too much radiation, you will pass out and wake up after decontamination. So we're doing a sort of almost Subnautica survival situation where you've got like range of how far you can go out and come back trying to gather stuff. I'm going to play with the gamepad. It said X was boost, but it's actually Y or triangle or whatever you call it. Incorrect. This sign is incorrect. What's my radiation is on the right. That's cool. Not sure about the random blocks that just appear and disappear all over the place. I like everything else. It's like a... What's this? Why have I got a pink around me? What's happening? Is that some sort of shield? Yes, the blinking is like small fast movements basically push something to the top of the information hierarchy and draw your attention to it. So anything like that, especially because it's very high contrast. It's like a black thing appearing on a colored background. It sort of is quite distracting. Oh, I think maybe I went in some radiation slime, and that's why there was pink around my screen before. It's like... Okay, the bar on the right is actually my thruster. The radiation ticks are the bottom left thing. I do sort of like the navigation puzzle element of this. Okay, we're not touching the pink. I think the pink kills you. Is that climbable? Climbable wall? The problem with this level of abstraction is just nothing suggests, when you look at it, nothing suggests what it's going to do, you know? Yeah, I love the style of this. Just it's not always like obvious when you first look at things what they're going to be or do from how they are visually designed. Right, my radiation is all the way up. Do I need to manually go back? Because I'm going to try and do that. Is this the start of the door? Okay. Can I get decontaminated now? And that's... I should have leveled up my resistance, really. Can I... It's like a kind of Cruelty Squad type FPS thing, but applied to a scavenging survival type thing, like a Subnautica. I think it's neat. Right, if I zoom over there, can I climb up it? Yes, okay. The abstractness gives you some really fun level design stuff you can do, like just having crazy platformer platforms and not having to be like, you know, making them look like something in a real place. Oh, shop. Remove some radiation. What's happening here? Very, God, it looks like this is what it would be like if you had a video game of a 80s Peter Gabriel music video or something. That's a deep cut, but I know some of you will know what I'm talking about. really funny when you reference something old, and like younger people are like, I don't know what that is, that's from before I was born, and I'm like, yeah, it is from before I was born as well. I was born in 1986. If I reference something from the mid or early 80s, it is also before my time. It's just, you know, history didn't end until 2005 or something. Yeah, games like this are the thing that make me want to experiment with 3D a bit, because often I look at 3D and I just think the amount of time it takes to make something that looks kind of like what it's meant to look like is such a long amount of time compared to just doodling something in 2D. And games like this, where 3D is used in a much more sort of abstract way, kind of make me rethink that a little bit. I'm missing some cubes. Better get them, because I'm never going to come back over here. Right, do I keep my cubes when I die and go back? Or is this all been a waste because I didn't go back like I did the first time? Yeah, it's just 40 years after World War World War Two, yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, there were less channels. There was a monoculture, so generally, you know, everyone in the country knew which song was #1 in the charts and stuff like that. Just stuff we don't have anymore. And a lot of it has come down to narrowcasting. So, you know, every person in the house has their own device with stuff aimed specifically at them on it. I really like that. It hurts my eyes to play it for longer than 10 minutes. But it's interesting because it didn't have a game loop last time I saw this, and now it does. You know, you go out, you collect stuff, you take it back, you invest it. There's a kind of really basic reward and investment loop in this. It wasn't super clear whether I needed to get back, like the last time I came back here, I kind of expected this to be a home base, and after I'd gone out here and got exposed for a bit, and when I came back here, I thought the exposure would just all automatically be healed, and that didn't happen. And that meant it was like, okay, I can invest some stuff, but then I need to just deliberately die because I want my radiation to go back to 0, you know? Oh no, I still have... Okay, I still had my stuff from the last run, but because, yeah, that UI had just glitched out at the top and I couldn't see it. There's some weird stuff with draw layers going on here where, like, that UI box is going behind and through stuff, which is quite fun, but it's not always great for communicating what's happening in the game. I think the other thing that would just explain the mechanics a lot quicker is just the bottom left thing that says 28 out of 80 currently. That's my radiation. Just put a whacking great radiation symbol on it. put a you know, yellow and black radiation symbol on it. It fits with your color palette already. You've already got the yellow in the color palette. Just to make it obvious that that is the sort of lose state, because people will know that symbol and know that it's a bad thing, and they don't want that number to be high. And that will give them enough to just immediately understand that mechanic a bit better. Because at the moment it's like, it's explained in lots of text, but you might need less text if you just had a better symbol. Yeah, bar would be good. I think the counter is helpful because I don't know if you saw there, but I upgraded the maximum amount I could take, which is like the long-term thing of this game. You can gradually go further. You can keep coming to the start and re-upgrading that resource, and then that bar becomes longer. So you do kind of want the number somewhere. One of the things I would say, if the player is continuously backtracking through that first area and coming back to invest and then going out again, you might want to make sure that there are some interesting hidden things off the first area for them to find, because if they walk back and through that area like 10 times and it doesn't change, and it's just a case of you're getting further and further away from the things you need to collect, there's going to need to be something there to make that repeat trip feel worth it, you know. Okay, let's do... I'm mainly gonna, with Chair Champions, I'm mainly gonna check out the new stuff. This game is just increasingly, just becoming gradually more violent. Which is funny, because like this is one of the games where it was on Indies Under the Knife, and then Robert from Bucketful Games, I sort of invited them to the Discord, and then it's been submitted to this a couple of times since then, and just every time it's been like, what if it was more violent? The community stream currently, it's not so busy that I can't just play everything, but it's just folks in the Discord. Let's try with Sudden Death on and see what happens. Okay, well, I'll do it without Sudden Death first. Play it on the smaller screen, I think it might work better for my eyes. Someone's already taken one of my hearts. I have no idea what's happening. That little chair spinning in the environment is fun. Temp man, if you're in the Discord, it's in the playtesting channel. It's pinned. It's all wet in here. Is this a... Ah, okay, it's not all wet, it's just blue tiles. That confused me for a moment. You lose an HP when you bump into someone, okay. See, it's like I can see their HP. I don't know what I'd do with that information though. I guess if I see an NPC that has 1 HP, then I might be more tempted to go for them. But it's so hard to keep in front of everyone that I sort of don't feel very, very like I want to interact with the other NPCs because I'm already struggling to drive at all. I think that's why combat in driving games has always been such a case of just like you shoot ahead of yourself or behind yourself and then and then it's just about when you time that. Because like having to directly interact with the other players. I suppose Road Rash did it quite well. But you're sort of spending a long time alongside someone in those games, so being able to take a little whack at them sideways works. But yeah, I don't feel very focused on when the other players are, especially when they're so far ahead of me that I can't find them anymore. Just very bad at this. I put it on casual. I put on casual. And I'm gonna put... I can't put it on sudden death. Okay, I'm gonna just... I want to just try a normal race, because every time I play this, I just really struggle with the basic thing of doing the race. I think part of it is because the basic idea of a race game where you don't control thrust is quite strange. So the sensitivity of like not being able to crash into things is like more pronounced because you've got less controls. So that classic thing of sometimes when you take stuff away, your game becomes more complex because the complexity is then in the interactions rather than in the controls, but it sort of still has to be somewhere, so it goes somewhere else. I can't really explain that in a better way right now, but it's kind of like if you compare Kirby to Mario. Like Kirby was designed for smaller kids, right? But Kirby has more obvious features. It has like a health bar, it has a flappy thing you can do to stop yourself falling down a hole, and they're all features that make the game easier for kids to play because it's less punishing, but they require more buttons and more stuff on the screen. That's better. But yeah, because you're not like accelerating in this game, you're only pushing in the direction. It kind of feels like hitting stuff is even worse than it would be in a normal driving game because you don't... It makes more difference, I guess. I don't know. It's hard to say. I don't play many racing things. I think probably the last sort of indie racing thing I played was years ago, and that would have been like Speedrunners, which was sort of a platformer with micro machine scoring. Oh. This would be like the only time I've done better than last in this game. Just needed to put on casual. Definitely feels different than driving a car, yeah. I mean, because you're pushing, with a D-pad in particular, because you're pushing in that direction for a while, it does really give you a sense of pushing, rather than just steering something that has its own momentum, you know. I think it would be good to have a rumble noise whenever you're going over anything that slows you down as well. Ugh. Yeah. It says I'm in second though, so I must be like just way ahead of most of them, and then there's one that's ahead of me, which is weird because I haven't seen anyone for a while. They've gone invisible. That's the Occam's razor answer. They've just gone invisible. You can't apply Occam's razor in video game worlds because anything could happen. Bucketful Games' own character at the race at the end because he's cheated and made his own character overpowered. Right, we're going to do sudden death on one of the smaller house levels. I'm not... I guess, I don't know. I find the differentiations of modes are not sort of something that excites me. There's something that if I was someone who's playing this game all the time with my buddies, I would be interested that there were different modes and I would want to try them out. But they're not like a draw, you know? They're not the sort of thing that's going to make someone initially go, oh, it's got this mode and this mode. I don't know. You'll be careful of like giving players too many options about these things earlier on and not having like a core, this is what the game is about, you know? I see that a lot. I see like people make games with lots of modes and then they don't really decide on what the definitive thing is and then give players all these options from the get-go. And yeah, it can be good to have the options, especially I think in racing games, sport games, people expect there to be modes. But you definitely want to make sure you find out which one is the definitive version of the game and make people learn that first, you know? Oh. I suck so bad at this. There we go. Sean and Squab in first place. They're just not getting any better at it. Just never seem to get any better at it. It's so colourful. Yeah. Let's see what's happened with the novice. I know a lot of the tinkering on this has been UI stuff, really, and trying to help people to understand the goals and the upgrades and stuff. Yeah, I'm not going to. I feel like every time Chair Champions is on here, we end up talking a lot about the camera. I don't really know how to fix it. I think some of the problem is, I think it's sort of a lot of it is to do with the resolution of the entire pixel art style of the game and everything as well. Sure, whatever. Pick your initial element. I'm gonna be technical. I'm gonna go for slowing things down with water. I'm looking kind of a little bit orange today. Yeah, I've turned the overlay off because I've turned everything off. I've turned the logo on, but I turned my camera off because it's Unreal and I just have 0 FPS if I'm on a webcam on this game. It's not just this Unreal game. It's like the vast majority of Unreal games I get just break my webcam. Emergency teleport. That was fun. What? A guild exchange? A negotiation attempt? I don't know what that means, and I'm not sure I'm invested enough to find out at this stage. Electric. Graphics. Medium. That's it on medium. I've doubled my frame rate, but it's still not great. So I think I mentioned this the first time I played this, but the projectiles feel the same to each other. And I know that one of the kind of ideas with this game is that you combine the different attacks together and they create different things, and that's where the kind of magic-y Wizard's Apprentice theme comes in. But I think it's going to put a lot of people who are like hardcore fans of this genre are going to be put off if the first couple of weapons just feel like the same thing with different particle effects. But they don't fire different from each other or anything, so. All of this contrast from this grass is making the game less legible as well. Like, maybe that's why, maybe that's part of why it's running so badly as well. So you got all of these enemies that are like casting a shadow, which makes them harder to read as silhouettes, as character silhouettes. Like, I can just about tell these two enemy types apart because one's red and one's brown. But the shadow is muddying things. There are all these little micro shadows on the ground from the trees and the grass. And I think a lot of it just doesn't need all of this. Both in terms of like visibility and clarity of what I'm looking at, and in terms of maybe the reason it's you know, not optimized very well. Is that a trap I can use, or is it a trap? Is that a trap that kills me, or is it a trap that's supposed to be a weapon I can use? But yeah, I'd really think quite a bit about the visibility of things, because if you just take a screenshot of what's happening, look at all of these bits that are almost black, and like how much visual noise that creates. Like these enemies over here, very hard to see them. They're under the trees in the shadows. And then when they're coming across the grass is just way too visually noisy because of all the shadows cast by the grass. The thing is, when people are playing a game, particularly an arcadey game like this, they're not looking at it to go, oh look how beautiful that place looks, it looks like a real place. They're doing it to play an activity. Any kind of choices about the visuals that you make that activity harder in a way that's not fun are going to just get in the way of people enjoying it. What's this green guy doing? He's got some sort of green bogey magic. Not lasting very long. I don't care for this screen. It's not clear what's happening, and also when it happens I'm not invested enough to want to do like a weird little gambly thing. Like if you want to make a weird little gambly thing, make it look like what it is so it's very quick to understand. Otherwise, if you're talking about negotiation attempts, it starts to feel like it's something out of a 4X like Civ or something, and it just feels out of place. Yeah, I mean, you say you're too good at your game. I've said this before, but these are not games about surviving through skill. Bullet hell games are games about surviving through skill, where you're dodging things all the time. Bullet heaven games are not about that. They are about farming for resources and doing that slower or faster depending on how skillful you are. But your skill isn't really determining like how quickly you die that much, right? Like you do die in Vampire Survivors, but you get to like really build up to a point where you're enjoying yourself before you die, right? But people play those games, they hear the word survivor and they're like, oh, this needs to be really hard. It needs to be like everything in the game is really deadly and can kill you very easily. No, it's like you need to give people 10 minutes of just enjoying farming for resources. At the moment, it feels like the focus isn't really on... Like, when I pick up those gems, I can't really see what it's going into. Like, I don't know what that is an investment in. It's going down to the bottom right, okay. I just got a rank up after 3 times where I died before I got it. Also, I'm still not... Arcane Scatter. Let's go for that. See, it feels like... So, at the moment, it feels like the gating of the power-ups and the ability to unlock new weapons, it feels a bit stingy. It feels like... And this isn't necessarily what is actually true, but this is how players of this genre will feel about this game. It feels like you've made these power-ups and you don't want players to get them too quickly because you'll run out of content, so you're not letting them get them very quickly. So just gonna do one run of Vampire Survivors and narrate it, because I think just going back to the source can be helpful for this thing. Pick a character. How do these characters work? They have slightly different base stats and like one starting weapon. I guess the most similar to your game would be the guy that starts with the knife, because that's the one that goes in the direction you're pointing in. And then let's just do the standard, the starting level. So if you look, when I walk away from the enemies, it takes a very long time for it to get to the point where just walking away is going to get me killed. Yeah, exactly. People get confused by the word survivors, right? Vampire Survivors is a thematic name. It is not a mechanical name. If Vampire Survivors was named mechanically, it would be called Crystal Farmers. Because that's what's actually happening. You're like... well, it's not... I mean, the surviving is happening, but the crystal farming is the primary thing. And it gives you enough time to get invested in that. Look how quickly I got my first upgrade, so I get a reward straight away. It's not a meaningless reward. It's not just like, hey, you went up a level. Doesn't do anything. It's a reward where I get a choice, which is direly needed because in the game I'm not really doing that much. Now I get another choice. I've had 2 choices in a minute. And now I can feel that I'm more powerful. And if the game had been trying too hard to kill me in the first 5 minutes, I wouldn't be able to feel any of this because I'd be too focused on frantically trying to survive. So if we think of it from an emotional point of view, like someone in the chat just said, it is a chill game. This whole genre is meant to be chill. And the word survivors throws people off, but the survivors part is what's happening in the story and the theme of the game, what the character is doing. It's not what the player is doing. The player isn't struggling really hard to survive in these games. And I know, you know, I'm playing an old save of this, so it's going to have a bunch of passive upgrades and it'll be a bit easier. But generally speaking, this is a chill out genre of game. And that's why they work. And you can take it and do something else with it. But I think at least understanding that that is the core appeal is an important place to start. Ah! For anyone who's tuned in late to the stream, this is a game that someone submitted from our Discord. It's called Guy That Eats Chicken Off the Floor. It's a brand new game. I'm sure you've not seen it anywhere. It's about a guy who goes around picking up blue gems, and then occasionally he gets to eat a roast chicken off the floor. And that's the highlight of his day. It's an art game. It's a commentary on the futility of self-care discourse under the ravages of late-stage capitalism. And I think it's going places. I think man who eats chicken off the floor should put a shirt on though. See, I think if you make a Vampire Survivors type game and you add aiming to it, you're sort of you're kind of adding something that I'm not sure whether I want or not. So then when I enter a Bullet Heaven game and it has aiming, I'm immediately on the defensive because I've come to this genre to just sort of chill out and move a thing around on the screen and then have these little moments of thinking about my loadout. And then I'm thinking, oh, you're making me aim. Because it's taking it from being like a progression-based game about farming resources and investing them into being a skill-based game, right? Which is always it's like a little spectrum, right? Like if you think of RPGs and action RPGs, an RPG is a game where you're playing as a character and the character's skills are totally separate from the player. Because a wizard is intelligent and a fighter is strong. That's totally separate from the player. And then on the other end of the spectrum with an action RPG like a Fable or a Zelda or something like that, what the player character can do is directly responding to your button inputs. And these are very much not about the button inputs of the player. All the player is really doing is just reading the screen for like, where are the rewards, where are the risks, and then moving around. Not having to think too much about aiming. And then like in Vampire Survivors, we have a weapon like this that you do sort of aim or it goes in the direction you're facing in. But it's not the standard. It's something you sort of opt into as like a modifier to make the game maybe more interesting if that's what you like. But it's not like the standard thing. So as soon as I play one of these and it has like a twin stick shooter aiming, I'm like, It basically means that you have to pay attention a bit more because you're doing those two controls at the same time. And I don't know if that goes very well with the structure of needing to play the game for 20 minutes. Like, if you think of a twin stick shooter like Binding of Isaac or something like that, so how long does it take to, or Enter the Gungeon, how long does it take to complete an entire level? And do you get breaks? Because when you've got that very intense roll, you're dodge rolling, you're aiming and stuff like that, you are putting more cognitive load on the player to think about more things and respond to more things. And that works okay in a thing where you're going into a room, clear out a room, take a break. Go into a room, clear out a room, take a break. Clear a floor of the dungeon, take a break. But this style of game, the only break you get is when you choose the next upgrade. So if you're going to put more cognitive load on the player by having them have to aim and stuff like that, you need to do other stuff, like maybe have the pauses for upgrades be more frequent. I don't know, but you need to offset it because you're kind of creating more cognitive load by having the player interact with more buttons and make more decisions moment to moment and stuff like that. But even then, I would say this is not the same as the weapon in. This is not the same as the weapon in the Novice, because in this I'm still only using one joystick. I'm not moving a character and aiming in like an opposite direction. That's also kind of what makes this character feel like they are hunting the vampires, is that it's shooting in the direction they're going in. Whereas in the Novice, I'm running backwards from enemies that are super fast and basically catch up with me as soon as I stop moving. Whereas in this, I'm attacking in the direction I'm walking in. The enemies are relatively slow. And if I'm overpowered, I sort of attack them a bit and then walk to the side and stuff like that. But it's a very different vibe from having a twin stick shooter control and being able to shoot in a direction you're not moving in. yeah, the pacing of the enemies in this is very, very strong. And there's usually a set of enemies where you've got like a really, like, here, we've got it here. We've got like the bats that have way less health but are faster. And they are coming with something else that has way more health and is slower. And because they're very visually distinct from each other and you can tell them apart, then it makes it very easy to read the situation on the game board. Again, this is kind of coming back to the issue of visibility and the 3D and all of the 3D lighting and shadows and stuff. There is nothing on the screen here that isn't gameplay relevant, and the problem with having like a simulated 3D environment with all that lighting and shadow in it is it creates a lot of noise, and I can't tell which enemy is which and stuff like that, whereas this just don't have that problem. And it's not a case of, well, don't make the game in Unreal. It's just turn some of the stuff off. You don't need loads and loads of pieces of grass on the floor casting shadows. You might think it looks good, but that's not what players care about when they're actually playing the game. And you need to make your game for the people who want to play it, not the people who want to look at it. Because the people who, you know, look at a game and then judge it based on whether it has realistic grass or whatever are not the people that are actually going to spend hundreds of hours playing your game. Anyway, I don't need to do this whole run of Vampire Survivors. Maybe I will, just to cap off the stream. Thank you to everyone who submitted their games this month. I really like this kind of stream where we've got a mix of stuff we've seen before and stuff that's totally new. Let me just have a look at what we saw. What did we see? We had like a top-down plain dogfighting game where it just needed to be easier. I needed an easier scenario to start off because I just could not beat those 6 planes or however many it was. We had a top-down stealth game that kind of reminded me of Monaco. It's like a kind of horror thing with robots on a spaceship. A few games we've seen before. The Goblin cookery one I could probably sit and play for a while. I think the Goblin gourmet one, the thing that game is going to maybe suffer from or be the sticking point for people is it seems like there's a lot of memory involved in it, of like remembering which 2 ingredients go into which thing to make which thing. And when I think of other cookery games, like when I think of Overcooked, when you've got a recipe you need to make, it's just there on the screen. And you don't want to make your game necessarily not require any knowledge of its systems at all, but I think thinking about ways to make it easier for the player to remember what's in their deck and what they can make with different things, it's going to be the challenge with that, like the big UX challenge for that game. Yeah, my tip would be if you're making a game with like with realistic assets, is to just like find some way of doing shaders over the entire game that make it look stylized, and then your game will look like someone's thought about the art direction rather than just going for realism. There is a particular, someone said it looks like Steam shovelware. Yeah, it's like there's this I just tend to find if you make one thing in your game look realistic, like if you have a realistically proportioned human with like with a couple of good animations, it just makes people expect everything in the game to be that level of polish. There's like a debt, a realism debt. And if you push one thing in the game in that direction, then people expect everything to be like that. Like as soon as you have realistic looking and animated humans, then people expect there to be voiceover, and people expect there to be a particular approach to sound design and all of those things as well. It just pushes up the expectation of every part of the game in a way that doing something stylized doesn't. If I was making one of these games, one of my earliest tech tests would be to just get it to this state and just make sure that the engine can handle it. Because I do think survivor likes need to have this end game. It's what you're aiming for. It's for the screen to become this big exploding pachinko parlor of collecting and destroying. And you really do need whatever you build to be able to handle that. I think one of the things that we maybe don't talk about much when it comes to, people have loads of conversations about game engines and which is better and the different features of each one, but like every time you make a game, you are making a game engine of sorts. You might be using a proprietary engine, but how you decide to make it handle particular things in your game is the engine of your game, right? So even just stuff like turning off basic things that might look good for a screenshot but don't help the game, like I said about with shadows with the last game. You have to make decisions about these things. You can't just use what it does out the box, because what it does out the box is there to impress noobs, right? It's not necessarily there to help you make a good game that runs well or is appealing to people or anything like that. The thing about liking realistic graphics is that I think people that have that aesthetic preference, it tends to line up with not understanding that a game is a game and not a simulation. And like, people play a game to do an activity. There are simulation games, of course, but they're their own genre. And if you're making a game in an arcade genre or something, then you need to think about why those games do the things they do. And it's not because that's what would happen in the real world or the world of the game or whatever. It's because it's what would be satisfying to the player in some way, or exciting to the player in some way, or frustrating to the player in some way if you're deliberately doing that in the section of the game that you're working on or whatever. Yeah, that game shouldn't have shadows in it. Makes it just too hard to see. Like every character you can see on the screen here is very, very easy to read. And the problem, if you had real-time shadows on all of these characters, you wouldn't be able to tell them apart. Maybe you can have shadows on your trees and stuff, but you shouldn't have all those grass shadows on Novice. Look how long it's taken for the game to get to a point where it's actually deadly. It's not a matter of skill. It's not that I'm more skilled at this game than I was at the Novice. It's that the game is just much more gentle at the start because it is invested in getting me invested. It's invested in onboarding the player into this satisfying loop of collecting stuff and investing it, and feeling their build change, and not killing them before they can experience and appreciate all that stuff, you know? These games are not really about surviving. They are. That's a thematic thing in the name. It's not really what the core gameplay is about. It's about vampire, yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is as well that the vampire thing does just give you this broad gothic set of characters to draw from for your enemies as well. So it's not random, you know. It's just narrow enough for the game to have a theme, but it's also broad enough for there to be lots of different permutations of that theme. Was if you did like dinosaur survivors, it's like how many variations of dinosaurs can you have? Can you have enough variation to have enough enemies to do what this game does, which is have enough levels to feel worth buying, you know, and all that kind of stuff. Why don't we? The real vampires were the survivors we made along the way. Right, thank you all for joining. I will see you all soon. Thursday stream, we've got some sort of turn-based JRPG type things in the vein of Pokemon, which is a type of game that I notoriously hate. So we'll see if any of them make me not hate it. I probably still will hate it because when you reproduce games that were originally made for children, you need to change them to make them interesting to adults, and lots of people don't do that, but we'll see. If you want to play any of them ahead of the stream, I think I have put the links in the right place. Let's have a look. If anyone's ever asking why I don't have a welcome video on my YouTube page, it's because we go to it so often on here and I got sick of it auto-playing. Can they make me like JRPG combat? Astral Arena, Dark Cards of Candlewood, and Eclipse Breaker. Astral Arena. Let's watch the trailer now. Let's watch the trailer and see if we can get hype for it. The Make Me Not Hate stream, yeah. It's looking pretty poor. Looking pretty like pure Pokemon to me. And the thing I just generally don't like about JRPGs is there's all of this complexity that is just aimed at making you grind. It's just like, oh, this number is 16. And if I do this repetitive activity for 3 hours, I can make it go up to 18. And like none of it translates into meaningful decisions that you make as you play. You know, hopefully the game is more interesting. It looks like it might be kind of an action thing. But when it all comes down to who has bigger number, like who has bigger number and then 3 moves that you select between in the game, looks beautiful. I'm not particularly excited by it, but we'll see. And I can't see anything to do with humans interacting outside the arena. So at least they've limited the scope of the game to something that's reasonable for a smaller game. So if it is just focused on doing the battle and not trying to do all of the other stuff of going around in a world and stuff, then maybe it might be a bit more kind of focused and a bit tighter. Yeah, I mean, you say pay-to-win gacha game, that's kind of what I just think of when I see these games. And it's like, whether it's pay-to-win or not, it's all going to be designed around grind, 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 collect, merge, grind, grind, grind. And I don't think, I don't know, I don't like those things from a taste perspective. I find it dull. I also don't like those things from a ethical perspective, because if you're doing a game and it's just like, oh, okay, I go into combat, and then there's like a flow chart of like, do I win the combat? And the answer to that is really determined by how much did you grind before you went into the combat. So the combat you're doing is not a series of interesting decisions. It's just a thing that decides whether you prepared enough by doing enough grinding before the combat. I think that's fundamentally why I stopped playing things like Final Fantasy games and stuff like that, because when you have these very numerically heavy which JRPGs tend to be, they're very based on like numerical growth, and have you done enough grinding to get your numbers up before you go into a particular encounter. And I find that is so, it's so based around trying to make people spend as much time in a game as possible. It may as well just be a slot machine. Dark Cards of Candlewood. Unique 2-choice card combat with 300 cards. Sounds like maybe it's going to be playing off of Gloomhaven a little bit. Build your collection from packs, singles, drops, drafts, crafts, and more. No microtransactions ever. Okay, cool. Upgrade the town. JRPG adventure story. This one's promising for me because it's card driven, and the thing that cards introduce, when you have turn-based combat, if you don't have a grid and characters moving around on a grid like XCOM, then just the kind of standard RPG Maker combat of attack, spell, block, flee, it's like you have the same set of tools every turn. And what having a card driven game does is it just means that you've got different things to choose from each turn. And that's just fundamentally more interesting than the same 4 decisions. And generally speaking, you have a physical character that you usually attack with and a magical character that you usually do magic with. And that narrows down your decisions even more. Cards kind of help mess around with that a little bit more, so that every turn you are actually doing some thinking. It's just much more engaging. So sort of already naturally biased towards that based on the description. What's Eclipse Breaker? Eclipse Breaker has exactly the menu I just described. Attack, special, magic, ultimate. And it's just like, well, if I haven't got mana, then I'll do an attack. If I've got mana, then I'll do a magic. If I've got my ultimate, I'll do it unless it's a waste. We'll see. This is kind of charming, though. I like how sort of over the top this is. It sort of looks like what you might have got between Final Fantasy 6 and 7 if there was a 3D one before. I know it probably looks more modern than Final Fantasy 7, but not in my mind. A strategic action roguelike, dodge, parry, and strike in real-time combat where every second counts. This is a thing that I really hate to see in game descriptions, where they just sort of describe a very basic game mechanic that any combat has dodging, parrying, and striking. Master fast-paced combat inspired by classic JRPGs, collect divine powers, and fight through ever-changing dungeons in a relentless cycle of epic boss battles. This looks nice. I think there's a lot to potentially like here. It's going to be interesting to see what the balance is between the turn-based and the active. Because it sort of like doesn't mean anything obvious until you see it in action. When people say that it's sort of turn-based but sort of not, it's like what is the bit in the middle that you're exploring? Because like I really like games that have pause and play mechanics. I liked the old Baldur's Gate way of doing it. I liked FTL. I like a game that is real time and I can pause it and I can sort of issue everyone commands while the game is paused and then unpause it. I really like that way of doing mixed real time and turn based. But when something is just abstractly presented as active turn based, I don't know what that means. You know, is it real time and people have timers and they can only do a certain amount of stuff within that time? I like her ponytail animations as well, which is obviously the most important thing in this game. Yeah, there's lots of different references going on here. It's a bit Genshin. There's lots of Hades references in terms of the UI design and the character portraits and stuff like that. We'll see. We will see on Thursday. Join me on Thursday. I'm going to go away now until Thursday. And I'll see you on Thursday.